Hey y'all, welcome to Q Plus EDU 2021. We are so excited you are here with us today. My name is Frederick. My pronouns are they, them. I am Out Youth's Texas Gender and Sexuality Alliance Network Coordinator. And today I have the very great honor of introducing y'all to Gabriela, Rupp, and Nidhi Kallur. And they are going to talk to us about how we can use Instagram and other social media to engage youth in activism. So I will let y'all take it away.
Yes. Hello. Okay, we're very excited for today. As Frederick said with their lovely intro, we're talking about social media to engage young activists. I'm Gabriela, that's Nidhi.
Yeah, my name is Nidhi Kallur. My pronouns are she, her. I go to Plano West High School in Plano, Texas. I've been leading the Jasper Gender Sexuality Alliance, Plano ISD Gender Sexuality Alliance, and the North Texas GSA Coalition. I'm also part of Plano West Mock Trial and Plano West Choir.
I am Gabriela, and I will be a senior at Plano Senior High School this year, which is just a few miles down the road from her. My pronouns are also she, her. We worked on Jasper GSA together. We work on Plano ISD GSA together and North Texas GSA. And then I also do Plano Senior at my home campus, GSA. Outside of GSA, I'm also president of Plano Senior High School Democrats, and I'm an officer for Student Congress, which is the same as Student Council. Outside of that, I'm a member of Plano Met Ballet and our orchestra at school. Yes, so we're talking about social media. These are the big ones. Both of us have worked on social media things and learned kind of rapid fire by experience. We've definitely done some things wrong along the way with various organizations. I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on it now. So we're going to be talking mostly about Instagram and Facebook today. We're going to briefly touch on TikTok. You don't have to use TikTok, we're going to talk about it a little bit. Twitter and Snapchat, you don't really need to use. Snapchat, you really can't use because it's mostly personal messaging. Twitter, I feel like is mostly commentary based, so it's not the best for organizing, but there definitely is some like political presence there for sure. But mostly Instagram and Facebook, and they're also both owned by Facebook, so they're very easy to work together on. All right, so we're going to start with the differences between them. This graph is very small, but I will explain it in a moment. So this is Instagram, and the functions are personal photo sharing. So like night out with your friends, post pictures after. Professional connections and advertising. You can pay to put ads on there. You can connect with companies, nonprofits, etc. Political activism and organizing. This is a lot of what the young people are doing on there. Sharing various information about demonstrations or, that kind of thing. Infographics, which there's an upside and downside too, because sometimes we can get a little bit of not necessarily intentional misinformation, but people not having all the details. And then messaging. Almost all of them have messaging. You can send each other posts. You can message other people like texting or whatever. Features of Instagram is main feed posts, and we'll get into what all of these mean and how to use them and what to use them for later. Main feed posts, which stay there on your page forever until you delete them. Stories, which you post and they last for 24 hours. Reels, which is basically knockoff TikTok. Instagram Live, which is what it sounds like.
It's a live stream.
Yeah, it's a live stream. IGTV or Instagram TV, which is just their word for a long video, over a minute, and messaging again. So the graph on the left, I want to draw your attention to, we're going to put these up for all of the different sites that we go into, but it's basically an age distribution of the average age of users of the site. So we see that we have a big chunk in 18 to 24-year-olds and another big chunk in 25 to 34. So that's where I'd say most people our age are and spend most of their time in terms of like taking in actual information. TikTok is more for funsies, I'd say. But yeah, so Instagram is where it's at. A lot of my friends have Facebook, but don't check it. So even if they're a user, they're not necessarily an active user.
I will also say for these statistics, there is definitely a skew towards not having a lot of 13 to 17, largely because there are kids who may not be of age to use Instagram and end up just putting an age that they think is old enough.
Yes,
so there are definitely
true.
a lot more kids on there than even the statistics would suggest.
Yes, you don't have to be, I think the age limit is 13. You don't have to be 18, but then you will put that they're 18 anyway.
Just in case.
A little bit of data changes. Right, Facebook. Oh, sorry, back to Instagram for 1 second. We see how small these numbers get once we're at 45 and above. Even the 35 number is pretty small compared to the other sites. So we'll get to this in a second with Facebook, but you see that if you're not using both, you're basically leaving out a chunk of people. And we want that connection, especially profit work and things like that. So Facebook, a lot of the similar functions. Instagram is more photo-based. Facebook has photo sharing options, but it's a lot more text-based. So personal sharing, professional connections, and advertising, not as much as Instagram, but it's definitely there. Political activism and organizing, again, not as common, but you do see a lot in Facebook groups. We have group collaboration, which is more of like people do public groups, private groups, and it's just either things you're interested in or organizations you're a part of. And then messaging, again, it's going to be a common one. So features would be feed posts, just like Instagram, stories, just like Instagram. They're not commonly used on Facebook. I'm guessing partially due to the age demographic, it's a newer feature. Facebook groups, which is pretty unique to Facebook, and not a lot of other platforms have that option. Again, the live stream option, not super common. And Facebook Messenger, which is a separate app, actually. That's the difference there. So the graph, we do see a big chunk at 25 to 34, but then if you combine all those other bars to the right of it, you see that most of the users are going to be over 35. So that's not, I feel like in our world and like the club and youth organizing space, we see Facebook as like evil. That's not necessarily the case, especially if you're an organization that wants to bring in and make those connections between the generations. You really should be doing both. But you do see how low that 13 to 17-year-old number is. Like, it's not a commonplace. I know I didn't get it until high school, at least.
Our school used to use Facebook as a way to share like study materials of all things. So a lot of us got it just for that, and then never used it again.
Even that, I've noticed at the school we went to that did that very commonly, has been pretty much phased out. So even as we've been in high school, it's shifted even more towards Instagram and TikTok. Yes, so that also, again, that those young chunks that are really big are not necessarily active users. It's mostly have an account to post my graduation pictures so my family, friends, or whoever can see them. That sort of stuff. TikTok, we don't expect many organizations to use TikTok for a few reasons. There's not really a good way to market yourself on TikTok. It's kind of just whatever's on your For You page or your home feed is what you see, and it's hard to get your stuff out to the people you want to see it, like you would on Instagram, where you can follow a bunch of people. So, but we do see the age ranges are pretty drastic. This one actually starts at 10 years old. 10 to 19 has 25% of the users. Yeah, almost all the users are under 30. So functions would be impersonal media, meaning most of what you see is not from people you know in real life. It's just for fun. Comedic content, people post serious stuff, but a lot of it is just jokes and for fun. Political commentary and analysis. You don't see a ton of organizing on there, but you do see people saying like my thoughts on this bill that passed or whatever. And a very common feature on there is called Stitch, where you can basically take a video, put part of it into your video, and then comment on it. And that's very popular. I don't think that really exists on that. I think it exists on Instagram Reels. Like I said, Instagram Reels is knockoff TikTok. Features short form videos. They recently extended the limit to 3 minutes, I believe, but before that it was a minute, pretty sure. So 3 minutes is the absolute max, and I don't think all users have access to 3-minute features. So it's very, very short. I'd say most videos I see on my For You page are less than a minute. They also have live, not a commonly used feature. They also have messages. People don't really text on messages. It's more sending each other videos back and forth. So that is TikTok.
What we have to say about TikTok, we're not going to focus a lot of time on TikTok. Like we said, it's really not something that you can practice using or like that you can get good at. What we do have to say though is if you do want to use TikTok or even use Instagram Reels, get someone who knows what they're doing. Get someone who understands the platform, who understands how all of those features work, because I am of the age that TikTok is supposed to be for. I do not use TikTok. I will not use TikTok because it breaks my brain. So for people that didn't even like grow up during this TikTok phase, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah. Also, the trends change so fast. If you have someone that doesn't use it for personal use working on your TikToks, it's going to be what the youth would call cringe. So if you want to hire a very young person to help you out, then it could work. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it.
There's absolutely no shame in hiring someone to do this kind of work because it is insane. It is complicated and it is insane.
Even since I've had Instagram, which is only a few years now, it's gone through so many updates and changes. All right, so that is the like kind of top 3, I would say, where things happen. We're going to focus mostly on Instagram and Facebook. So Instagram and Facebook 101. All right.
So I know that a lot of you probably do know how to make an account, but just in case we have people who have absolutely no idea, here are some tutorials of how to make an account.
Most of the videos we're using are from our accounts that we've used. Or so this is our Plano GSA account.
And this one that I'm making right now and the one that we're going to show next are accounts that I made brand new just for this presentation.
Will be deactivated soon after.
They were deactivated this afternoon.
Oh.
So like you can see, I'm creating a presentation. One thing that we really want to emphasize is make a username that makes sense for your organization. So either your organization's name or something that makes it clear what your point of existing is. Because
if your username that you want is not available, try not to add numbers. Try to add things like underscores, dots, something along those lines. The numbers gets a little confusing.
Yes. So yeah, you make your username, create a password, whatever it is. Somehow it blurs out your password. It's insane. Didn't know to do that. And then there you go. You can, after this, you can add a phone number, you can add an email. Email, very useful. It'll give you sort of updates, but other than that, you're good to go. We'll get to the Facebook part of this in a second, but that's
how to make an Instagram account.
And let me see if it'll let me move on from here. There we go. So the other part of Instagram and Facebook that is really helpful is making what's known as a professional or a business kind of account. We used a professional account on Instagram so that we could look at insights or like how well a post is doing, who it's reaching, how many people it's reaching. And this is how you would do that. It's very simple. You just go to your account settings, get a free account. And this is all the benefits of it, all the cool stuff. You select a category. I chose education.
You can choose to have that category viewable on your page or not viewable. So it doesn't really matter what you pick if you don't have it viewable, but there's something along the lines of club or nonprofit and things like that.
then you just choose business or creator. We chose creator for our account. And then
If you choose business, it allows you to pay to promote your posts, which we have never found an interest in doing.
But I think that could be useful for things that need to be advertised. You add your things, it requires you to put a profile picture, and then these are all of your various features. You can follow other accounts, which we will talk about in a second. Inviting friends, not the most useful, but this is where the big part of it comes in.
This feature was just rolled out sometime last school year. So I'd say
I believe it was
between
last
9
year.
months and 12 months ago. And it's been very helpful for us because we've been able to tell, I don't know if you showed the insights on here.
We're
But-
gonna look at that right here.
Yeah, we can go through that real quick. You can tell how many likes your post is getting, how many shares your post is getting. And it's also very easy to tell like where those are coming from. So if people are seeing your post because someone shared it with them, people are seeing your post because it was on their feed or things like that. So you can tell kind of what works, what doesn't, in terms of getting your information out there.
So like here, we have how many got seen by other people. Obviously, we haven't been posting a lot over the summer, but you could see how many people interacted with a post, how many people liked it, how many people saved your posts, how many followers you're getting, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, they even break it down further into demographic stuff.
Mhm.
You can also tell how many people click on the link in your bio, which we'll talk about link in bio in a second.
It
But
is
that's
one of the
very
most
helpful.
useful things. And here you can promote particular posts, which is
By paying.
basically advertising.
Yeah.
So you can also do a similar thing. Will it let me out of here?
I
Let's
don't think
see.
we're on present mode.
There we go. This is very simply how to create a Facebook account. I'm assuming this is the
It's a little more user-friendly.
Yes.
And setup.
This is something that I recently discovered about Facebook, which is that you could create, rather than a business account, you create a business page. And this is not user-friendly, at least in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we're just gonna go through this a little bit slower. You just create your page. And I got there by going to the pages icon on my home screen. You name your page after your business. You choose a category, just like an Instagram. And then you add a description. Descriptions, make sure you are really talking about what is your page about.
Description for Facebook is like a bio for Instagram,
Yeah.
which we will also talk about.
I didn't want to assume that you didn't know how to use social media at all. So we're going to teach you how to do it better. You add all sorts of stuff. Choose a cute profile picture, one that's associated with your brand logo, and make it all cohesive. This is absolutely useless. Don't do that. It will send you texts about your Facebook page. You don't really want that. Promotions, again, similar to Instagram. You want to fill out all of this information. This website, filling out your website, adding your website in here, extremely useful. It'll put your website right up on your homepage. Make sure that everyone can see it.
Yeah, and they can click the link and it goes straight there.
And then you can add all of this if that's necessary. Action buttons, also very, very useful.
Yeah, that's different from Instagram.
Those action buttons can be used to do whatever you want. They can follow, you can contact us. That one's very useful also. Your email, all sorts of things. And then these are your advertisements if you need them, but you also get engagements, just like always with these business accounts. And there you go. That's the Facebook business page. And here we get to the big stuff.
So for Instagram, going into the details of the kinds of posts, what kind of content should go on what kind of posts. Your main feed posts stay there as long as you want them to until you delete them or archive them. Archive meaning you can see it, no one else can see it. These are a couple of our posts from our Plano GSA account. The one on the far left is what it looks like just when you click on it. And then the middle one is our main feed. So when you click on our account, that's what comes up, and it shows all of our posts all together. And then the one on the right is what your home feed looks like. So it's going to show all the main feed posts of the people you follow.
Your home screen, essentially.
There's also ads. You'll see sponsored posts on there. So main feed posts are things you want to stay, things you want people to revisit. So like event information. We have some info posts on here, like this Trans Day visibility one, talks about the history and that kind of thing. So really it's anything you want, but you want it to be something important. You don't want to do it for every little thing. So then
for the smaller things,
you have Instagram stories, which disappear in 24 hours. So we see a couple of the ones that we've used before. So on the left, it's just an example of what a story looks like. Second one in, there's a couple different features on stories that we really like.
It makes your content way more interactive, lets people actually like talk about, basically either message you and tell you what they want, like with the one on the second to the right, or like vote on things if you have something that you want.
So the one on the left is polls is what the feature is called, and the one on the right is called questions. That's right.
Yes.
There's a couple other ones. There's one that's like a multiple choice question option where you can do for like trivia.
You can also do a countdown, I believe.
There's boomerangs, all kinds of things. So just things to make it more engaging. This is going to be quick, like newsflash kind of things. If you're like the one on the far right would be like a reminder for an event that you posted maybe a week ago and you want to remind people to register, remind people to show up on time, that kind of thing. Also good for pictures, videos of an event happening. Yeah, Instagram stories.
Yeah, things like the one on the far left, this is a great way of how to create content that is for only an Instagram story, because it's very legible, very clear, but it's a short form content rather than something that you would want stuck up on your main page for the rest of the time that you have the account.
Yeah, so the example I put on here is from our Pride post, where for a few years now we've done like a Pride schedule where it's like a different thing every day or every week or whatever. So stories are a great place to do things like that, or maybe we're celebrating a certain month or something like that, where it's a short feature.
About some, because we said like stories do disappear after 24 hours. If you want to save something from a story, if you want to save a set of stories, you can do something called highlight. You just press the little highlight button underneath the story right here, and you can create these. They show up on your main profile. And like, this is one of our older accounts, Jasper GSA Alliance. They have a highlight for Pride 21, Pride 2020, recommendations, etc. So it's both a really helpful way to collect things that are similar. So a bunch of recommendations for queer media, for example, or to highlight a certain set of things like the way that they highlighted Pride 21.
So Instagram Reels, let me move this real quick. Instagram Reels and IGTV are the video forms of Instagram, which recently, like past few weeks, they've been saying they're really pushing the video thing. A common trend we see with Instagram is them trying to keep up with TikTok. So that's not surprising that they're pushing the videos. Reels is basically Instagram's version of TikTok. It's short form content. You can do comedy, all kinds of things. The ones we pulled are from some Texas organizations. Texas Rising has Reels. They have some very awesome young people working for them. And then Equality Texas on the right is showing IGTV. When you post to your main feed and it's a video, if it's less than a minute, it's just a regular video and it shows up. If it's more than a minute, it'll become an IGTV video. and it still shows up on your main feed, but it also shows up in this tab with the little TV screen emblem. I don't find it super useful, but just it gets a little confusing if you're not sure what it is. So that is Reels and IGTV. Again, with Reels, you don't really need to use it. It can be a fun way to engage younger people, but it's a lot of work. So unless you have someone that has experience with it, really no need. Right.
So this is one of the best features, in my opinion, of Instagram and Facebook, because we don't really need the Facebook demographic, or we don't talk to them a lot.
Most of the people we work with are high schoolers.
We don't use this feature, but I have used it for other clubs that do have Facebook accounts. And because Facebook and Instagram are owned by Facebook, you can essentially make it so that your posts from Instagram and your stories from Instagram automatically post on your Facebook as posts and stories, respectively. All you have to do is go into your settings on Instagram, go into account center, and you just set it up. And then you log into your Facebook account, whatever your organization's Facebook account is, and you connect them, and they will automatically post directly there. It's a really easy setup, and the biggest benefit of it is to make sure that, and you just have to make sure that you click, yes, we do want to share Instagram stories and Instagram posts automatically. The biggest benefit of something like this is making sure that your content is consistent across all platforms. We've seen that some nonprofits tend to have some content that is specific to their Instagram, and then completely different content that's specific to their Facebook.
Yeah.
And so sometimes information doesn't match up. Sometimes the content is just better on one or the other platforms. And so by doing this, it's a simple, easy.
Yeah, it saves time. It also makes sure that two different audiences aren't getting two different versions of your organization. It's like if you're posting entirely different things to Instagram and Facebook, under 35 and over 35, relatively speaking, are getting totally different perspectives. So it's a very easy way to make it cohesive. You don't want it to seem like one person is running your Instagram and another person is running your Facebook and they're not talking. You want it to all match up, and it, in an ideal world, you want your Facebook, your Instagram, and your website to have similar information.
That is the same thing. There we go. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about for content is groups. This is, again, a very Facebook only kind of content deal. You just create your group, and you can make it public or private. Ideally, for things like this, you want to make them public so that anyone can join. But you can also remove people if needed, which hopefully you wouldn't need. You can add people that you know. You can add yourself, for example, on your private account. And then you just set it up. The biggest thing that I want to show you guys here is putting something in. Actually, no, that's going to be in a second. But you can basically just create posts. And
it's easy to access directly on Facebook as opposed to scrolling through your whole feed waiting for, I don't know if Plano GSA is going to post something and it'll be under the 10 pictures my grandma posted of her puppy. So it's easy to access, and you can just go to the groups tab and see what's going on with them. Private groups is also very useful if you have like some kind of task-oriented group and they're working towards a specific project or whatever. It's a pretty easy way. It's kind of like a more fleshed out group chat idea.
Yeah. So that one is primarily, I think, for talking to a specific group. So if you have an organization, but you have a subgroup in that organization, you want to specifically post content to them, it's a great way to do that. Okay, so how to post.
So some guidelines. This is mostly for Instagram, some of them apply to Facebook, and we're going to get into more specifics on the next slides. So I kind of tried to line them up. So we'll do do's and don'ts alternating. So do frequent reminders. If you have an event coming up, post every day, every other day on your story saying, have you registered yet? I'd do a poll, will you be there? Yes, no, that kind of thing. Don't spam post, meaning post all the time. Or become
like every hour.
Yeah. Or people are going to end up just clicking through your stories and not paying attention. And don't become inactive. People will forget you exist. And the Instagram algorithm does not like inactive accounts. You want Instagram to view you as an active participant because they will put you at the top of someone's page. So do interactive content, meaning use polls as much as possible, encourage commenting. Again, Instagram algorithm loves that stuff. And it just keeps people more engaged and feel like you want their input and their participation. Don't passive content. Of course, not all content can be interactive, but as much as it can be is best. Do make connections. So follow people you know, follow organizations that you want to work with. Don't ignore your feed. If you're following all these cool organizations, you want to pay attention to their events, maybe see there's ways you can collaborate. So make sure you're keeping up not just with your own content, but with the other people that you're working with on there. Do make clear and legible posts. We will get into that on the accessibility section in a little bit. You need your font to be big enough, you need your contrast high enough, that kind of thing. It needs to be, people don't have to work too hard to access your content, whether or not it's related to a disability, because I've seen stuff that I cannot figure out. And it's just from poor choices on design. Things don't low contrast, small font, ramble. You don't want your post captions to be super long. People want to feel like they spend 5 minutes reading it. Just get to the point. Dates, times.
Just remember that people on Instagram, especially I think Instagram, tend to not pay attention to things that are like more than 30 seconds, maybe. For your feed posts, you can take up a little bit more attention, especially for stories. If they have to pause and like read the whole thing, you're probably not going to get them to pause and read the whole thing. Make them colorful, make them like eye-catching, and make them short and easy to read.
Yeah, and direct on what you're talking about. Do put your link in your bio, which we will talk about in a second. That's probably one of the most important things for like professional Instagram use. Don't use QR codes. They won't do any harm, but you can't use them. Because a QR code, we know what a QR code is, but you scan it with your phone, right? So if it's on your phone, then you can't scan it with your phone.
And so it's just useless.
You can look at it and go, wow, what a cute QR code, but you can't use it. So unless someone like had it up and you were scanning their phone, but that's not a common situation. And don't do non-clickable links, meaning typing out the link in your story or in your captions. Instagram, one of my biggest complaints is the link sharing is very difficult. The only way to do it, unless you have a ton of followers, which I'm assuming most of us don't, is to put your link in your bio. You can't share links that are clickable to your story, and you can't share links that are clickable to your feed post. They will just become text. And so the reason for that is because they don't want people going off of Instagram. They want them to stay on and keep engaging with content. But for our purposes, it's not ideal.
So with accessibility, some of the big things, like with your stories and your videos, like with other video content, you want to make sure that it's
same with YouTube and everything else.
Yes. So if it has any sort of audio, you want to make sure that there's captions, not only for disabled folk and people who need captions, but also like some people just watch their stories on mute. Especially
for Instagram stories. People are watching Instagram stories while they're at the grocery store, while they're in the car with their mom, whatever. They're not going to have the volume on a lot of the time. You want captions for deaf, hard of hearing, processing disorders, those kind of things, but also just for everyone else, they're easier. So you can have the option of listening, not listening.
And so other things for accessibility. I recently learned this. If you don't capitalize the words in your hashtag, so like if you're saying first day of school, you have to capitalize the F, the D, the O, the S. Otherwise, a screen reader would consider those all one word, and it would just go first day of school, except it would turn into gibberish.
Like gibberish. So make sure you capitalize those for blind or low vision folks that are using a screen reader. Spaces between emojis, similar idea. If you put the emojis all together, it reads them as clapping hands, happy face, that kind of thing. It can't differentiate them if they're all touching. You need them to have spaces between them. Don't do manual emoticons. So like the little colon and the dash and the parenthesis for a smiley face. You don't want that because it's going to read that as colon dash parenthesis. So you want it to be the emojis that are on your keyboard, which for Instagram, it's an almost all mobile platform. You can't really use computer to post. It's very difficult to do so. Facebook, you can use both pretty easily. So the emoji thing is more applicable there. Contrasting text color to background, you want your stuff to be legible for everyone, but specifically for people with low vision. We'll show some examples in a second. So there's different things you can use. Contrast checkers. This is one of our favorites, but there's a ton on the internet you can use. You just put your photo in and it'll tell you the ratio. The ideal what you want is 4.5 to 1 or better. But basically you don't want like pastel on pastel. You don't want tiny font, that kind of thing. It's just the same as if you're making a poster to put on the wall. You want people to be able to read it from a few feet away. So here's some examples of good and bad, or bad and good.
And good.
So this is from one of the organizations that I've worked with. I won't say who, but I love them. It's from a good while ago. And you see that it's pastel on pastel. It's very difficult, even if you have perfectly regular vision, which I do not, but it's hard to read. And it's just people don't want to spend time on that kind of thing, especially if there's like blue font down there. You can't tell what it says. So the text size is too small. The color contrast is not good. They did use clear fonts, so that's a good thing. You don't want to be using like cursive that's hard to read. They didn't do that. So the one on the right is from Texas GSA and is a much better example. So shout out to Frederick for making this, but it has high contrast with the bold black letters. The text is very legible. The parts at the bottom that are small font are not the primary information in the post. That's totally okay. Yeah, and it's still totally engaging. It doesn't have to be boring just because you want to make it accessible. It can still be very engaging and interesting to look at.
So this is one of the biggest things. This is one of our biggest gripes. And honestly, this is something that is difficult to find out, to figure out at all.
Instagram does not make it easy.
So what you have to do if you want to get people to go to a link is put it in your link in bio. And that is this thing over here where it says docs.google.com. That is our link in bio. And you can get to that by clicking on the edit profile button.
So once you click the edit profile, there'll be like name, bio, and then it'll say website. That's what your link in bio is. So you go and copy the link to your website, or usually you want it to be your website. We don't have websites, so we have a little bit different situation we can talk about in a second. But yeah, and that's like the primary people reference. So when you post on your main feed or your story saying, we have a meeting next week, go register at the link in our bio, or the Zoom link is in our bio. That's where they'll come. And every time you reference a link, you want to say link in bio. People know where to go. You don't want them to feel like they're lost and they have to go open Safari and then go to your website, because people just don't take that many steps, especially young people. We're lazy. So you want it to be right there, and you want everything to be there. Again, no QR codes. I put it on there.
No QR
Doesn't do
codes.
any harm. It doesn't do any good.
So the way that you ideally want to set up a link in bio is so that there is a way to access every single link that you have that people need to get to. So for us, at one point, we had a link to a survey and we had a link to our Zoom meeting, and I think another thing.
This is an old screenshot.
This is from a while ago. So what we wanted to do was put all of those links in one place where it could all be reached by one link. And the way that we decided to do that, which is not a usual solution, but it's what we decided to do, was use a Google Doc, which those can be shared just through a link. So we put that link to the Google Doc in our bio, and then we put every other link on there, and we labeled it, here's this thing, here's the link.
Yeah, here's our Zoom info, here's the link to the survey, here's the link to register for the Pride event or whatever it is. So it's all in the same place. And the reason Google Docs is super easy is because you already have a Google account. All you have to do is make a doc and set it to viewable by link, so anyone with the link can see it. You want to make sure it's on view only, not edit mode, because you don't want them changing your links. Another common way that I've seen people do this that's a little bit more professional. Again, ours is mostly catered to high schoolers, so they don't care. But
is a link tree. So
yes.
those I don't have a lot of experience with, but they're pretty easy to learn how to use. And the best thing about those is that they look pretty and they will like just it's a bunch of buttons. And so what you can do is say the first link is for your website, and then the second link is for whatever else you want. And the other great thing about that is just that they're very easy, they're very common, and so everyone knows how to use them, and it'll just link you straight there without any other hassle.
Yes.
I think another possible solution that has to be executed very well is putting a page in your website for your links. Now, I do not mean linking directly to your website, because that just means like, oh, I'm here on this website. Now I have to go search for these things that you want me to look at. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to spend time on searching on your website that I don't need to spend. So link directly to the place where the things that you want to be found are. So that can be just a page of here's all our links. Or if you don't feel like doing that, have a page that links directly to the event if you only have one link.
Yeah. So if you're going to put something on your website and you want to promote it, you want people to be able to click specifically onto this new article you posted. You don't want them to go straight to your homepage and they're going to have to go looking for it. So Linktree is a good source for that. Google Docs is a really easy version of that. Linktree, you have to make a separate account with them, but it's very user-friendly. It's all really obvious.
So Facebook is actually also pretty easy. So for your business page, for example, all you would have to do is go to your website, enter website, and just put it in. You can use the Linktree thing again. You can use a Google Doc, like we said, or you can link it to your actual website, because on a page here, you can have both your website and you can have a button that will link to another set of links like your Linktree or your Google Doc. So very user-friendly. Just put in your website and there you go. For groups, it was a little bit more difficult to figure this one out, but all you have to do is go to discussion and then edit your description. And so you would put in your link and then you would add your description underneath that. And there you go. It's entirely clickable, which is completely different from Instagram. You can actually click the link and it'll take you there straight from your description and you'd be done.
So something really important with the link in bio idea is that you update it regularly. We've fallen into this trap before where months after an event happens, we realize the link is still in our bio. You want to stay updated with what's currently happening. You want the most important things at the top. So your Zoom info, link to volunteering pages or whatever it may be that's most important to you at the time. If you have an event that's passed, if you have things that don't really apply anymore, go ahead and take them off. No need to clutter it.
Okay. Come on, friends. You're done. Okay. So just really quickly, here are some of the things that we think are the best tools to use for creation. I have briefly put on PowerPoint there. That is what I used when I started posting things on Instagram for GSA. And that was simply because it was really easy to make a square out of it. And they had really cool graphics. You can also use slides for things like
You're
that.
definitely already familiar with PowerPoint. So if you're like just starting to make graphics, that's a good place to start. I'm also the biggest Canva fan in the world. I love Canva.
We're going to
not the biggest fan.
I hate Canva because I have to use Canva normal. She likes Canva because she gets to use Canva Pro.
Yeah,
and that means that you should use Canva Pro because Canva Pro has all the options and also is way less infuriating than Canva normal.
So Canva basically is a graphic creating website. And when you go to create something, you'll click create, and then it'll say like create Instagram post, Instagram story, Facebook post, TikTok, t-shirt, all these whatever poster size and all these different ratios. So that way you can already start with your ratio. You don't have to worry about cropping it to get it to social media. So you pick whatever you're trying to create. And then they have different formats for you to use that are already kind of a layout. that look all cute. If you're using one of their pre-done layouts, you want to make sure you change it, change the color, change the shapes, things like that to make it your own, because especially we saw this a few times when something blows up, that's some kind of social political situation, you'll see the same Canva like layouts over and over and over on Instagram, and it gets boring and it looks like lack of effort on the user end. So you want to make sure you're making them unique. It's okay to use the preset ones, we do all the time, but you want to make sure you're making it unique to your page, not something that you can find somewhere else with different words on it. I know we see this during Pride all the time, because you can tell people went on Canva, Googled Pride, and then clicked one of the 3 Pride preset layouts, which are very cute, but I'm tired of seeing them. So make sure you're making it your own, changing fonts, changing colors, that kind of thing. I love Canva because it's very user friendly. I didn't know how to use it and I was able to pick it up very quickly. Pro has a lot of different elements is what they call it, where you can pull in different graphics of things to match whatever you're talking about, just to make it a little bit more engaging. Yeah, it's also really easy to make things legible, and you can tell very clearly what things are going to look like on there. The only way to do Instagram is on mobile for the most part. So Canva is nice because you can make your graphic on the computer and then transfer it to your Instagram on your phone.
Yeah. So if you aren't sure how to do a transfer thing, my solution has literally, anytime I need to transfer things, I just put it in a Google Drive, or because these are like graphics, because usually they're going to be pictures, you can just screenshot it or, save it as a picture, put it on a Google Doc, and then just access that Google Doc from your phone.
She's a big fan of the Google Doc transfer. I'm a big fan of the emailing it to yourself. I guess is a little more old school, but
yes, a lot of ways to access things just cross-platform. But I know that a lot of the big thing that makes Instagram unpopular with the older generations, let's say, is
adults is what she means.
Fine, is that you have to like transfer your work between devices. It's not as hard as it might.
So Canva is a pretty easy tool to make it feel like you know what you're doing to some degree with graphic design. You're not like starting from scratch trying to draw this thing up. There's a lot of good options where it can look professional even if you're not a professional, which I certainly am not, but I feel like we've made some good stuff in the past.
So a last little bit here is how to actually like get people to follow you, how to get things like started, and what to do once you are started. So first of all, messaging. Make sure you check your messages, make sure you check your requests over here, because sometimes people can just get lost. And if you are a like organization, you can sort people between primary and general. So put other organizations in your primary, and then perhaps your followers or people that interact with you on your general.
So most of the messages you'll get will be either you intentionally having a conversation with someone on that platform. So whether it's you reaching out to another organization saying, do you want to collaborate on this kind of project we have? I think it would be really fun. We've been really lucky to be able to work with some other clubs at our school, some GSAs from like other districts. So it's very useful to connect that way. Or a lot of what you'll get, which will automatically go in the request tab. If somebody hasn't messaged you before, they will go to request and you have to accept them. But a lot of what you'll get will be people swiping up on your stories. So either saying, I love this, or something up with an emoji or whatever. And so that's just kind of another form of interaction. And you'll want to make sure and just kind of monitor those and pay attention to what they're saying. Or if somebody, maybe we post something and it says Monday the 16th, but Monday is not the 16th. Somebody can be like, I'm confused, and then we can fix it. So you want to make sure you pay attention to that kind of stuff. Monitor those. Messages don't take much time. It seems daunting. It's not. That's more the personal interaction side.
So with Messenger, it's honestly a pretty different story with Facebook, mostly because Messenger is its own feature. I don't think that messages are going to be a huge part of life on Facebook, just because the major place that things happen is with posts, and with posts you have comments. So comments, you want to make sure that you're interacting with those comments even on Instagram, liking them, replying to them if necessary, or when it comes up. But I'm guessing that's where the majority of your interactions will happen on Facebook rather than through Messenger, which is
Messenger on Facebook is very much like texting your friends, that kind of thing. Not a lot of people are going to go into your messages on a professional page.
So here's the other kind of comments. We wanted to give you some of our favorite examples.
These are just a little bit funny.
Yeah, these are our favorite.
They didn't even put much effort into the hate.
Literally our favorite one.
The question mark is my favorite one.
This one lives in my head. Just like it stays there. It's part of my psyche for the rest of time. We got these on one of our most popular posts that was like we were making the rounds across our city, and we got some hate comments. And we were a little bit surprised, but we basically had to just deal with them by deleting them.
Yeah, and delete, block, don't feel bad about it.
Yes. So Instagram is really great in that you can, and these are our friends, so don't feel too bad about us deleting them. But
we restore them after.
Yes. So what you can do is report, restrict, and block. So reporting just reports the one comment, and you can report it for hate speech, which is what
it usually won't get taken down. So I wouldn't bother with that unless it's something truly horrible that you know Instagram will take down. The Instagram algorithms and restrictions are a little bit crazy and ever changing. So it's usually best to just deal with it on your own if you can.
And restriction will basically let them keep commenting, but the comments won't show up, which is a great way to get rid of someone if you don't want them to know that they've been gotten rid of. Yeah. Block is the most, extreme sort of action in that they will not be able to interact with you at all. They
can't see your profile. If they search for you, they can't find you.
Yeah.
I don't think you can see them either.
You can't see them either.
You can always unblock people, but
and you can't interact with their things either. And then after you've done all of that, you can also just swipe to the right and delete, and the comments gone.
Show unrelated to hate comments while we're here. This little thumbtack button is pin. And so there's a comment that you want to stay at the top the whole time that you really like, or has like extra information, or it's from somebody important. You can pin it and then everyone will see it as the top comment. Same thing. I don't think Facebook has that. I know TikTok has that. You can't pin your own comment on Instagram, which is super annoying. Instagram, you can go in and edit your captions, which I love because I'm like queen of typos. So to change dates, change misspellings, that kind of thing. Don't let me forget to talk about tagging in a second.
Yes. If this will stop playing. And then the last thing that we wanted to make sure we talked about, and this is from Texas GSA, they're doing a great job.
Yes, shut up.
So this is from their mailing list, which is essentially, I think, their biggest connective tissue of like reaching out to other people. That was a weird way to say that. But they have all of their links to their social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and their website right down here at the bottom. They have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and their mailing list on their website. So making sure you cross-advertise across your platforms, making sure that your social media of all kinds is very visible, very obvious. That will make sure that your people who follow you, who are interested in what you do, that have those platforms can actually see them and won't just find out one day, oh, they have an Instagram? I've been missing out on so much.
Yeah.
So
you want your website to link to your socials. You want your socials to link to your website. You want people to be able to get to anything that is of your domain from one place. Especially like website. If I find your website, I'm going to go follow you on Instagram because I'm 17 years old and I love Instagram. If somebody's on Facebook and does not like Instagram, they might go to your website to find out more. So it's just covering your bases.
And the last thing that we have on the slides is following other organizations. And that can be the big ones like ACLU, the National ACLU, or Amnesty International, or any of those sort of things. But the way that the Instagram algorithm works is that if you are following a bunch of these organizations and someone else is also following all these organizations, it'll show up like you're in the same circles, and it will say,
them to you.
Yeah, come follow this person. It also allows you to connect with other people, allows you to collaborate with other people, and cross-posting on each other's accounts will also get you more followers, because if it's like, oh, this account that I like shared something from another account, I'm gonna go check them out and see what they have and follow them potentially. That will
So
make
the way
sure that
we've
you're
used that, like just for an example, we follow Texas GSA, we follow Equality Texas, we follow Frisco GSA, which is one of our neighboring school districts. Just all kinds of things like that. We would have people in common, and we may want to work together or promote each other's stuff. Maybe not with Equality Texas, they're a little bigger than us, but you can see what I'm saying, where we maybe want to share their posts and give people those kind of resources. So that's a great way to interact. Also, if you're working with an organization or even just a person, we did this last week, tagging them. We didn't make a video of this, but when you're making a post, a main feed post, there'll be an option of tag people, meaning at Gabriela Rupp or whoever. And so they will get a notification and it'll show up on their main home feed. So people will know that they're associated with that. So when we posted the promotional thing for this session, I tagged Texas GSA, I tagged myself, and I tagged Nidhi, so our people would know that this was happening. So just kind of making those connections that way, where everything is kind of crisscrossing over each other and people can get to you from a lot of different directions. I think that's most of what we got.
The only last thing that we have is contacting us. Come follow us if you want. This is the official Texas GSA network Instagram, and this is our Instagram. That's the one that the two of us
I'll be on
run.
there. If you message me, I'll answer.
Yes. This is the Texas GSA mailing list. This is Texas GSA website, and this is our email. That if you email us and I check it,
I'll check it.
Yeah, we will try to get back to you, because we don't really get notifications from that email, but you can email us and we would love to speak to you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think we have
some
Q&A.
I think we have some
I love
questions.
the Q&A feature.
Yes. All right. Can you explain Instagram's restrict feature? If I restrict someone and they comment on one of my posts, do they see their comment on my post, or is it that nobody else can?
Let me go look. There's multiple options for how to restrict people. I'm gonna go on my personal and see. Okay, so if I restrict, it says only you and that person can see their new comments on your posts. Approve individual comments to make them visible to everyone. You can unrestrict them from their profile. So that means nobody can see their posts besides you and them. They don't know they've been restricted. So they're not gonna like retaliate or whatever. And if they want to post again, you have to approve the comment before it shows up on your feed. So yeah, that's how it works. Or you can just delete them, which is my personal favorite strategies.
So I'm not sure what the situation. I think that is primarily for interpersonal conflict. Like if you have someone that perhaps you know in person and you don't want them to know.
And it's not
maybe
even, maybe it's not ill intent, but they posted something that you don't want your employer seeing on your page. You restrict them, right? Something like that, where it's just, it's not necessarily bad blood, but you don't want it to be public on your page.
So that's restrictions. I think that's all we have. If you guys have any other questions,
yeah, feel free.
We have a couple more minutes.
Thank you so much.
That was pretty good timing.
I have learned so much. Yeah, and we could definitely, if there are other questions, we can definitely stay on for another minute or two. I was hoping you could talk to us about hashtags.
Oh yeah.
Is what?
Hashtags. Anything specific about them?
So I was in a training one time for a fundraising. So Amplify Austin is the Central Texas like big annual fundraiser. And I was in their social media training one time, and they said the general rule for hashtags on Instagram posts is that you should use 10 or more. So
we certainly don't do that.
Yeah.
I've heard people say rules like that because it helps the Instagram algorithm want to promote you. I do think that's kind of fading as Instagram self updates, but I find it useful for like if we're doing something during Pride Month, we're gonna put hashtag Pride Month. And so that way, if somebody searches the hashtag Plano GSA, hashtag whatever, hashtag an event we're at maybe, we will come up on there along with any other posts. There's also a feature on Instagram that's location, which is a little bit, I have a little bit of an issue with this. Some people on their personal accounts will post with the location while they're still at that location, which I don't find to be super safe. But for an organization account, it's very useful. Let's say we're at some kind of club fair, we can put Plano Senior High School on there, and then when you go to that location, us and book club and Stuco and everyone else is going to come up. So hashtag and location kind of serve a similar purpose. Hashtags are also fun. They can be funny or fun just for your followers to see, but the Instagram algorithm does like to promote things that have hashtags, especially there's a lot of that on TikTok too.
I
So
think
how
that
do you-
the main thing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the main thing that hashtags would probably help you with is ending up in, for example, someone's explore page. So if they've liked a lot of things that are related to that hashtag, then your post might also show up with that hashtag.
So
like
on the topic of explore pages, we didn't show this in the
explore pages are basically like just a bunch of posts that Instagram thinks you might like. There's stories on there, there's IGTVs, there's reels now. And so it's just,
so here is the Plano GSA explore page. So this is our home. Can you see that? Kind of. And then this little magnifying glass, that's your explore page. So it's going to be a bunch of just stuff that Instagram wants you to see. If you show up on explore, that's a good thing because people will see you that don't know you.
Yeah.
It's not common for organizations like us that have 200-300 followers, but if you have a couple thousand, you could end up showing up on explore.
So my other question about hashtags is, how do you decide which hashtags to use?
So
that's a struggle I've had. I usually only use a few if I use them at all. And I only use them on posts that I feel that I want to get beyond our current followers. So if I'm posting something that's like specifically, oh, our meeting next week moved rooms, I don't need that to get to the big wide world, right? So hashtags, I can pull up and see when I've used them, but usually you want things related to your content. So if for us, we would use hashtag LGBTQ, hashtag Pride Month, hashtag whatever the content is that you're creating. Some of them, I can't think of an example, but people will do like funny ones. Yeah.
I think also like if you're posting about a specific event or a specific like
definitely
day.
an event.
So like if, for example, I just saw the Trans Day visibility, a lot of people will hashtag those posts because it'll show up in a big hashtag full of those that people will look through and all of that. You can also hashtag an event like if we were to hashtag this Q+EDU, that would be a great way to
just all show up together.
All of those.
So when you do search for something, like I just searched hashtag TDOV for Trans Day of Visibility. I know you can't see it, but I'll walk you through it. When you search something, you'll see little bar icons, which is everything, a little person icon, which is going to be searching for people's profiles, and a hashtag icon. So if I go to TDOV 2020, which won't load, it's going to be a bunch of Trans Day of Visibility posts from 2020. So the idea, it's not loading, the idea is that you want your post to show up there if someone goes looking for it. So for niche things, nobody will really go looking, but if it's something like Trans Day of Visibility, something like Pride Month, or a certain event that a lot of people are going to know about, that's a good way to do that. Same thing with location. Like if you're at a fair or a festival or something like that, you want your post to show up with everyone else's. People know you were there and they can go follow you.
And there's no punctuation, no special characters, no spaces, only letters and numbers in hashtags.
Yes.
Is that right?
Okay. Hashtags there's no spaces, it's all squished together, which is what makes the screen reader thing quite difficult. So you need to, I just learned this a few weeks ago, capitalize the first letter
of each word.
Yeah, so that the screen readers won't read them
as a bunch
nonsense.
of letters that don't make sense.
but no apostrophes. So I feel like I've seen people try to use hashtags, but they're like, don't blah, 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 but then use the apostrophe. So your hashtag is DON.
Yeah. Another interesting thing on hashtags, there's a big conversation about hashtags last year during the large Black Lives Matter movement that was, I guess, during the time that it was getting a ton of attention on Instagram. This is where we saw a lot of people my age specifically get into activism at all, that I see still posting about totally unrelated things. So things like that. It was an issue with hashtags where people were trying to post information about resources, times, places for protests and things like that. And instead we had people using the Black Lives Matter hashtag for just random stuff and the whole black square thing. I won't even get into, but so it clouds the hashtag. So if it's something really important and what you're posting isn't that important, don't use the hashtag. I'd say use hashtags only when you have something super important to say, or what you're saying is fun and what everyone else is saying is fun. So
that's a good rule.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. I'm still going to keep using QR codes because I have heard from other people that they like them, but I appreciate that.
QR codes for emails are an awesome tool.
Literally anything that can,
and it's fine for Instagram as long as you're doubling up with the link in bio.
Yes. Yeah. Because as long as it's on a computer screen and can be like looked at through your phone on a computer screen, great, lovely. We love those. We use those in our presentations all the time. But
that's what I was talking about. Camel case, yeah, where if they're capitalized, they'll read them as what they are.
Yeah, but once it's on your phone screen, that you cannot do anything.
Yeah,
I'm glad y'all addressed that though, because my development director at Out Youth was like, I don't understand how you're supposed to scan a QR code when it's on your phone.
Yeah,
am I not?
I use QR codes like at school for posters and stuff. If like we had senior class president elections last year, and we had these posters, and you say go vote, and you scan it because it's on the wall, right? Or you've seen like during the pandemic menus that have QR codes instead of a physical one. Things like that are awesome. Emails, because it's on your computer, you can scan it with your phone. But if you're doing it on Instagram, again, if you can scan it from your friend's phone, but you can't scan it from your own, so you will have to double up with the link in the bio.
Yeah. Or if you are absolutely the most patient, you open it on your computer through Instagram,
which I
and
would
then
never
scan
do.
it on the phone.
People that use Instagram on the computer probably would though.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I have learned a ton. I will definitely be implementing all of this stuff as soon as I can. Yeah, and I think this is going to be fantastic and super helpful for all of the nonprofits that get to watch this video after it's posted as well. Thank you to everyone who attended today. Thank you for everybody for participating in the chat and the Q&A function. Our video will be posted to the Q+EDU website this month at some point. And we've got tons of other great sessions coming up throughout August. Tomorrow we have a panel on transitioning at work. And then Wednesday, our presentation is using the media for LGBTQ justice. LGBTQ equality is the title of that one. And then Thursday is navigating power differentials in romantic relationships. So we're all over the place. We've got tons of different content, and we would love to see y'all there. Thanks so much, y'all.
Bye, thank you.